Another text goes unanswered, leaving you wondering what you did wrong. The modern dating world feels like a game where the rules are hidden and you are always one step behind. But what if you could stop chasing and instead become the one who is pursued? This is not about learning manipulative tricks or pretending to be someone you are not. It is about uncovering a 2,000-year-old philosophy that holds the key to genuine confidence and unshakable inner strength. I am talking about Stoicism. By the end of this, you will possess 25 specific Stoic practices that will completely rewire your approach to dating and transform you into a true challenge. What does it truly mean to be in control of your own reactions, and how can loving your fate make you irresistible? What is the single most important shift in mindset that separates the needy from the unshakable? That endless waiting for a reply can feel like a physical weight on your chest. You check your phone again, your mind racing through every possible reason for the silence. But this anxiety, this desperate need for a specific outcome, is the very thing that pushes people away. Stoicism offers a powerful escape from this cycle, starting with a single, life-altering practice known as the dichotomy of control. This is the bedrock of your transformation. The core idea is brutally simple yet profoundly difficult to master. Everything in life can be divided into two categories: what is up to us and what is not. What is up to you? Your own judgments, your values, your desires, your actions, and your character. These are your internal world, and they are completely within your command. What is not up to you? The actions of others, their opinions, the past, the future, and every external event outside your own mind. This includes whether someone texts you back, whether they like you, or whether a date goes well. The moment you start trying to control what is not yours to command, you hand over your peace of mind, you become needy, you become reactive. Your happiness becomes dependent on someone else's actions, and people can sense that desperation from a mile away. Now apply this to dating. You cannot control if she finds you attractive. You cannot control if she agrees to a second date. You cannot control the words she says or the choices she makes. What you can control is whether you are respectful and genuine. You can control your effort to be engaging and present. You can control how you handle rejection, with grace or with bitterness. When you truly internalize this separation, a remarkable shift occurs. Your energy changes. You stop seeking validation from an external result and start deriving it from your own conduct. You approach a conversation not to win her approval, but to express your authentic self. You ask for a date not fearing a no, but knowing your value is not diminished by her answer. This is not indifference, it is immense self-respect. It is the quiet confidence of a man who knows his worth is determined by his own character, not by anyone else's verdict. This self-assurance is magnetic. It makes you a challenge because you are no longer a supplicant begging for attention. You are a whole person offering your company. This fundamental shift in focus is where your power truly lies. Think about the last time you sent a text and felt that knot of anxiety while waiting for a reply. You were focused on the one thing you could not command, her response. Now, redirect that energy. You cannot control if she texts back, that is her domain. But you have absolute authority over your own actions. You can control the quality of your dating profile, ensuring it is an honest reflection of who you are, not a desperate plea for likes. You can control your approach, choosing to start a conversation with genuine curiosity rather than a canned pickup line. And most importantly, you can control your reaction. If the silence stretches, your choice is not to spiral into stories of inadequacy, but to simply carry on with your day, your value intact. This practice systematically dismantles anxiety because it pulls your attention back to your own arena, the only place where you are truly the commander. When you stop pouring mental energy into predicting and influencing her actions, a natural calm descends. That calm is not an act, it is the authentic result of no longer being at war with reality. And this calm energy is incredibly attractive. It communicates that you are not easily shaken, that your sense of self is not hanging on every notification. It shows you are a man with a life and purpose that exists independently of her interest. This is what makes you a challenge, not because you are playing hard to get, but because you genuinely are hard to disturb. Your peace is not for sale at the price of a text message. That unshakable calm you just built is about to be tested, and there is a powerful Stoic tool to ensure it holds firm. We often walk into dates or difficult conversations secretly hoping for one perfect outcome, and the mere possibility of failure fills us with dread. Stoics had a direct method for confronting this fear, a technique called negative visualization. This is the deliberate practice of mentally rehearsing potential setbacks before they happen. It sounds counterintuitive, even pessimistic. Why would you imagine a date going poorly or someone rejecting you? The genius of this practice is that it does not attract misfortune, it inoculates you against the shock of it. By visualizing the worst-case scenario in vivid detail, you strip it of its emotional power. Think about the fear of being stood up for a date. Instead of just worrying about it vaguely, you sit down and consciously play it out. You picture yourself arriving at the restaurant, waiting alone as the minutes tick by. You feel the initial sting of embarrassment. You notice the glances from other patrons. Then you mentally navigate your response. You decide to order a drink for yourself and enjoy the atmosphere. You pull out a book you brought or message a friend to make other plans. You realize that your evening is not ruined, it is merely redirected. The rejection loses its fangs because you have already lived through it in your mind and discovered that you will be okay. You have prepared your response, so you are no longer a victim of circumstance but an active participant in your own life. This is not about expecting the worst to happen, it is about being prepared for any outcome. When you walk into that date having already accepted the possibility of rejection, a remarkable transformation occurs. You are no longer attached to a specific result. You are free to be fully present, to listen, to connect without the desperate energy of needing it to work out. Your conversation becomes more authentic because you are not filtering every word through a lens of fear. This detached engagement is incredibly compelling. It communicates that you are there to genuinely assess a connection, not to secure validation. You become a challenge because you are not afraid to lose her interest, and that fearless self-assurance is magnetic. This fearless acceptance of any outcome leads us to the third and perhaps most profound practice, amor fati, the love of one's fate. Amor fati is the decision to embrace everything that happens to you, not with resignation, but with genuine acceptance, seeing it as a necessary thread in the fabric of your life. This goes far beyond merely tolerating a bad date or a rejection. It is about actively welcoming it. Think of a time you faced a painful rejection. Your initial instinct was likely to fight against it, to replay the scenario and wish it had gone differently. Amor fati asks you to do the opposite. It asks you to look at that same rejection and say, this too is for my benefit. How could a rejection possibly be beneficial? It clears the path for a more suitable connection that would have otherwise remained hidden. It strengthens your resilience, teaching you a lesson about your own capacity to endure and thrive. It refines your understanding of what you truly seek in a partner. When you learn to love your fate, you stop seeing obstacles and start seeing opportunities for growth. This mindset is not a naive optimism that pretends everything is wonderful. It is a gritty, powerful realism that chooses to find the value in every single circumstance, especially the difficult ones. Apply this to the silence after a text. Instead of interpreting it as a personal failure, you can choose to see it as a gift of clarity. Her silence is not a punishment, it is a redirection. It is the universe saving you from investing more time in a connection that was not meant to be, freeing your energy for someone who will reciprocate with enthusiasm. When you genuinely adopt this perspective, your entire demeanor shifts. You no longer carry the bitterness of past disappointments. You move through the world with a quiet, unshakable confidence that is not dependent on external events going your way. People are drawn to this energy because it is so rare. It communicates that you are a man who cannot be easily knocked off course, a man who finds strength in adversity. This makes you a profound challenge because you are not seeking a partner to complete you or shield you from life's hardships. You are already whole, and you are inviting someone to join you on a journey where every twist and turn, even the painful ones, is met with strength and grace. That is an offer that is incredibly difficult to refuse. This quiet strength is forged not in the moment of challenge, but in the quiet moments of honest reflection that follow. Every evening presents a powerful opportunity to turn your daily experiences into a training ground for your character through a practice the Stoics called the evening review. This is not about beating yourself up for mistakes, but about conducting a calm and objective audit of your own actions, especially in your interactions with women. The goal is simple, ruthless self-awareness. Find a quiet space and ask yourself a series of direct questions. In that conversation today, did I act with virtue and integrity, or was my behavior filtered through a need for approval? Did I state my opinion clearly, or did I agree just to be liked? When I sent that text, was it an authentic expression of interest, or was it a covert plea for reassurance? Were my actions driven by my own internal values, or was I secretly seeking external validation from her response? This process systematically exposes the hidden patterns of neediness you might otherwise miss. You start to see that the anxiety you felt wasn't about her, but about your own attachment to a specific outcome. You realize that a moment of hesitation was a choice to prioritize her potential judgment over your own self-expression. This daily audit is your private laboratory for improvement. It transforms vague feelings of regret into precise, actionable data. Instead of just feeling bad about an interaction, you identify the exact thought that triggered your neediness. Maybe you noticed you were rehearsing what to say instead of listening, a clear sign you were performing for approval. Perhaps you caught yourself checking your phone repeatedly after a message, revealing an imbalance in your focus. Each night you get to correct your course, you forgive yourself for the misstep, and you mentally rehearse a better response for next time. You decide that tomorrow you will listen with full attention, or you will state your boundary with calm confidence. This consistent, incremental refinement is how you build a character that is naturally resilient and self-validated. Over time, this practice rewires your instincts. You stop needing to force confidence because you are actively constructing it, brick by brick, every single night. The man who knows himself this intimately cannot be easily shaken, because his sense of worth is no longer a mystery waiting to be solved by someone else's attention. Your own death is not a morbid thought to be avoided, but the ultimate deadline that gives your life its urgency. This is the heart of memento mori, the remembrance of death, a Stoic practice that cuts through all hesitation and pretense. When you carry the conscious awareness that your time is finite, every interaction becomes more meaningful. How would you speak to someone if you knew this was your final conversation? You would not waste time on small talk or posturing. You would express your genuine interest with a clarity that is both fearless and rare. This is the power memento mori brings to your dating life. It liberates you from the fear of rejection, because the greatest tragedy is not a polite no, but the regret of never having the courage to ask an authentic question or express a real feeling. The clock is always ticking, and this knowledge forces you to stop playing games. You stop sending vague, low-effort texts designed to protect your ego. You start communicating with purpose and directness, not in an aggressive way, but with the calm confidence of a man who knows his time is too valuable to waste. This authenticity is magnetic. People are so accustomed to guarded, calculated interactions that a genuine expression of interest stands out like a beacon. It makes you a challenge because you are not hiding behind a facade. You are presenting your true self unapologetically and inviting others to do the same. This practice also fundamentally reshapes how you value your own time. When you remember your days are numbered, you become far more selective about who you give them to. You stop making yourself endlessly available for someone who shows only lukewarm interest. Your time becomes a non-renewable resource and you treat it as such. This does not mean you become rude or dismissive. It means you prioritize your own mission and well-being. You understand that chasing after ambivalent attention is a poor investment of your precious life. This selective availability naturally makes you more of a prize. You are no longer a man waiting by the phone, but a man with a life so full and purposeful that your attention is a gift, not a given. Memento Mori transforms you from a passive participant hoping for a connection into an active architect of your own life, building connections that are deep, real, and worthy of your limited time on this earth. There is a profound strength in choosing discomfort before it chooses you. This is the essence of voluntary discomfort, a Stoic practice that builds an inner fortitude no external event can easily shake. It is about deliberately seeking out minor hardships to prove to yourself that you can endure far more than you think. This could mean taking a cold shower when a warm one is available, skipping a meal to practice fasting, or pushing through the final, difficult repetitions in a workout. These acts are not about punishment, they are training. You are conditioning your mind to remain calm and resolute when your body is screaming for relief. You are learning the fundamental truth that discomfort is temporary and that you are always in command of your response to it. Now bring this same principle into your dating life. The fear of rejection is at its core a fear of discomfort. It is the anticipation of that painful sting, the awkward silence, the blow to your pride. But what if you had already faced down 100 smaller discomforts and emerged unbroken? The potential discomfort of a simple approach or a direct question becomes trivial in comparison. When you are accustomed to embracing the cold shock of a morning shower, the chill of a potential no loses its power over you. You stop seeing rejection as a catastrophe and start viewing it as just another form of voluntary discomfort, a necessary part of the process that strengthens your resolve. This practice rewires your entire approach. You no longer hesitate to send that text or ask for that date because the worst outcome is no longer a threat to your peace. It is merely another data point. Your confidence becomes authentic because it is forged in the fires of self-imposed challenges. You walk into a room with a quiet assurance that comes from knowing you have voluntarily faced harder things than a conversation with a stranger. This fearless engagement is magnetic. It makes you a challenge because your presence communicates that you are a man who is not easily rattled, a man who welcomes life's difficulties as opportunities to prove his own strength. Your romantic struggles feel like the entire world, but from a different vantage point, they are a single, quiet whisper in a roaring universe. This is the power of the Stoic practice known as the view from above. It is a mental exercise, a form of meditation where you deliberately zoom out from your immediate anxieties and see your life from a cosmic perspective. Close your eyes for a moment and picture it. You are not just a person waiting for a text message. You are a living being on a planet, a sphere of rock and water spinning through an incomprehensible void. See your city from high above, a mere pattern of lights. See your country, then the entire earth, a fragile blue marble. Now pull back further, past the moon, past our sun, which is just one ordinary star among hundreds of billions in our galaxy. And our galaxy itself is just one of countless others in an expanding universe of near infinite scale. Now look back at that single point, which is you. Your hopes, your fears about a particular conversation, your disappointment over a cancelled date. From this vantage point, how significant are they? This is not meant to make your life seem meaningless. On the contrary, it makes your peaceful mind the most meaningful thing you possess. When you return to your own perspective, the anxiety has lost its grip. The outcome of your dating life is still important to you, of course, but the desperate, ego-driven need for a specific result has diminished. You realize you are a small part of a vast, beautiful, and mysterious whole. This realization is incredibly liberating for your confidence. That person you are talking to is no longer a gatekeeper to your happiness, but another human on the same spinning rock, navigating their own tiny journey. This dissolves pretension and posturing. You stop trying to impress and start seeking genuine connection, because what is the point of a facade in the face of cosmic infinity? Your demeanor becomes calm and philosophical because you are no longer fighting a personal battle for validation. You are simply engaging with another soul, sharing a moment in time. This calm, detached curiosity is profoundly attractive. It signals a man who is not easily rattled by social games because he is playing a much larger, more interesting game with his own life. He is grounded in a reality so vast that minor rejections cannot shake his core. This makes you a true challenge, not because you are aloof, but because your sense of self is anchored in something far greater than any single interaction. That cosmic perspective brings a profound clarity, but your mind still needs a tool to process the raw data of daily life. This is where objective judgment comes in. It is the disciplined practice of separating the bare facts of a situation from the emotional story you instinctively wrap around them. Think of it as a mental filter. An event happens and your first reaction is usually a flood of judgment, a personal narrative of what it means about you. Objective judgment asks you to pause that flood and describe the event in the simplest, most clinical terms possible. You receive a text that ends a conversation. The raw fact is, a message was sent indicating a lack of interest. That is all. The story you might normally tell yourself is that you are not good enough, that you said something wrong, that you are unlovable. Objective judgment stops that story before it can take root. It forces you to see the event not as a personal catastrophe, but as a simple piece of information. She did not text back, that is a fact. Your interpretation that this fact defines your worth is the optional and far more painful layer you are adding on top. When you master this, you prevent yourself from spiraling into bitterness or desperation. Bitterness is the residue of a story you told yourself about being wrong. Desperation is the child of a story about your own inadequacy. By sticking to the objective facts, you deny these stories the fuel they need to burn. You can receive a no with genuine grace because you have not loaded it with existential meaning. It is just a no. It is her preference, her current situation, a data point in your search for compatibility. This does not make you cold or unfeeling. You can still feel a natural disappointment. The difference is that disappointment is a brief, passing sensation, not a deep wound to your identity. You acknowledge the feeling, then you return to the facts. She said no, that is her right. My value remains unchanged. Now I have clearer information to guide my next step. This ability to process rejection without internalizing it is one of the most attractive qualities you can cultivate. It communicates a deep and unshakable self-worth. People are drawn to those who are not derailed by setbacks, who can take a no in stride and continue on their path with undiminished confidence. You become a challenge because your emotional state is not a prize others can win or a punishment they can inflict. It is rooted in a calm, objective assessment of reality, a reality where one person's opinion is just that, and your own character is the only verdict that truly matters. Your words hang in the air, and the space that follows is not an emptiness to be filled, but a field of quiet power. This is the practice of silence and deep listening, a Stoic discipline that transforms conversation from a performance into a genuine connection. Most people enter discussions, especially with someone they are attracted to, with their minds racing, already crafting their next witty remark or impressive story. They are not truly listening, they are just waiting for their turn to speak. This is the behavior of someone who is seeking validation, who needs to be seen as interesting. The Stoic, grounded in his own self-worth, has no such need. His goal is not to impress but to understand. He practices the art of presence, giving his complete and undivided attention to the person in front of him. He listens not just to her words but to the tone, the emotion, the meaning behind them. He is comfortable with the pauses, allowing her thoughts to settle and her true self to emerge. This quality of attention is so rare that it becomes magnetic. When you listen in this way, you are communicating something profound without saying a word. You are saying your thoughts matter, your experiences are valuable, I am here with you fully. This makes a woman feel truly seen and heard, an experience that is far more intoxicating than any rehearsed compliment. It positions you as a grounded and secure man because your silence is not awkward, it is contemplative. You are not desperate to prove your value because you know it is not in question. Your value is demonstrated through your calm focus, your respect for her perspective, and your ability to hold space without needing to dominate it. This creates a powerful dynamic where she is inspired to open up more, to share more of herself because she feels safe in your presence. You become a challenge because you are not trying to win her over with noise. You are inviting her into a quiet confidence that is far more compelling. Your worth was never meant to be a question put to a popular vote. There is a far more reliable compass for your actions than the fleeting approval of another person, and the Stoics called this virtue. Your primary objective in any interaction, especially a romantic one, is not to win her favor, but to act with wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. This is the 10th practice, a profound shift from seeking an outcome to embodying a principle. When your focus is locked on being a virtuous man, the entire dynamic of dating changes. You are no longer performing for a reward. You are expressing your character for its own sake. Imagine you are on a date. The old, needy mindset would have you scanning her face for signs of approval, tailoring your stories to impress, and avoiding any topic that might cause disagreement. Your goal is her validation. Now apply the lens of virtue. Your goal is to act with wisdom, so you speak honestly about your life and passions without exaggeration. Your goal is to act with courage, so you are not afraid to state a contrary opinion respectfully. Your goal is to act with justice, so you treat her with genuine respect and listen intently. Your goal is to act with temperance, so you manage your desires and remain composed. When your entire focus is on upholding these internal standards, a powerful paradox emerges. You become largely indifferent to whether she approves of you or not. Your satisfaction comes from knowing you acted with integrity, regardless of the outcome. This is not cold indifference, it is the warm confidence of a man who has passed his own test. He does not need her to tell him he is interesting because he knows he spoke his truth. He does not need her to validate his worth because he demonstrated it through his conduct. This self-contained integrity is magnetic. When you are not seeking her approval, she is freed from the pressure of being your judge. She can relax and simply experience who you are, and because you are not desperately trying to win her, she becomes curious about winning you. Your calm self-assurance becomes the very thing she seeks to earn. You become the challenge because your approval, rooted in your own unwavering virtue, is the prize that is not easily given. Her emotional state is not your project to manage. You cannot control the weather inside another person, no matter how much you might wish to. This is the 11th practice, a crucial extension of the dichotomy of control, focusing specifically on what is not your own. Her thoughts, her feelings, her reactions, her past experiences, her mood on any given day, these are all part of her internal world, a sovereign territory where you hold no authority. The moment you forget this boundary, you slip into a state of neediness. You start to monitor her tone for signs of displeasure. You edit your opinions to avoid potential conflict. You take responsibility for her happiness as if a bad mood on her part is a personal failure on yours. This is a recipe for exhaustion and inauthenticity. You become a performer, not a partner, constantly adjusting your act based on the audience's perceived reaction. Releasing this need to manage her is not an act of coldness, it is an act of profound respect for both her autonomy and your own. It is acknowledging that she is a complete, independent person, fully capable of managing her own emotional life. This frees you to be your authentic self. When you stop filtering your words through a sieve of how she might react, you begin to speak your truth. You share your unconventional opinions. You express your genuine enthusiasms, even if they are nerdy or obscure. You set boundaries calmly, without anger or apology. This authenticity is disarming. It is the ultimate challenge because you are presenting a real person with edges and quirks and a firm center rather than a pleasing facade. She is not interacting with a mirror designed to reflect back what she wants to see. She is engaging with a man who knows who he is and is not afraid to show it. This kind of grounded self-possession is incredibly rare and magnetic. It communicates that you are not there to use her reactions as a measure of your worth. You are there to see if your two authentic selves are truly compatible. And that is a question worth exploring without any filters at all. Every action you take is a vote for the kind of man you are. The Stoics called this the discipline of action, a commitment to ensure that everything you do serves the common good and stems from a virtuous intention. In the delicate dance of dating, this principle becomes your most powerful guide. It asks a simple but radical question: are you acting to get something from her, or are you acting because it is the right and honorable thing to do? The distinction is everything. A man focused on outcome is constantly calculating. He gives a compliment because he wants to secure her favor. He plans an elaborate date to impress her, his happiness tethered to her reaction. His actions are transactions, and people can feel the subtle pressure of that expectation. The man practicing the discipline of action operates from a different place entirely. He acts with integrity because that is who he is, regardless of the result. He is respectful because every person deserves respect, not because he fears offending her. He is honest about his intentions because clarity is a form of justice, not because he expects honesty in return. His actions are expressions of his character, not negotiations for her affection. This builds a reputation of unwavering integrity that is incredibly compelling. When you are known as a man who does the right thing simply because it is right, you radiate a trustworthiness that allows others to let their guard down. She does not have to wonder if your kindness comes with a hidden agenda. She does not have to decode your texts for manipulative undertones. Your consistent, principled behavior creates a safe space for a real connection to grow. This makes you a profound challenge because you are not playing a game with rules you can bend. You are living by a code that is not for sale. Your integrity is not a tactic, it is your identity, and that is an offer of stability and respect that is far more attractive than any fleeting moment of manufactured charm. A thought appears in your mind, fully formed and demanding your immediate belief. She is losing interest, it whispers. That man she was talking to is a threat. You feel the familiar tightening in your chest, the urge to send a probing text to test the waters. This is the critical moment where your frame is either held or shattered, and the Stoics called this practice the discipline of assent. It is the art of inserting a small, powerful pause between the initial impression and your full endorsement of it. Your mind will constantly present you with judgments, often dressed up as absolute truths. He is better than you. Her silence means she is with someone else. These are not facts, they are impressions, and you have the sovereign right to reject them. When that wave of jealousy or insecurity hits, your first job is to simply notice it. Do not fight it, do not follow it, just observe it with detached curiosity. Ah, there is the story my mind is telling me about my inadequacy. There is the fear of loss trying to take the wheel. By naming the emotion, you separate yourself from it. You are not the jealousy, you are the one observing the jealousy. This space, however brief, is where your power resides. In that pause, you interrogate the impression. Is this absolutely true? What is the objective evidence? She was talking to another person. That is a fact. The story that this means she is rejecting you is an unverified interpretation. By withholding your assent, you prevent a fleeting feeling from becoming a destructive action. You stop yourself from sending that needy, accusatory text that would have confirmed your fears and destroyed your dignity. Instead, you allow the feeling to exist without obeying it. You feel the insecurity, you acknowledge its presence, and you consciously choose a different path rooted in your virtue. You decide to trust your own value until there is real evidence to the contrary. You choose to act from courage, not from fear. This disciplined pause is what maintains your unshakable frame. It proves to yourself and demonstrates to others that your inner state is not a puppet jerked around by every passing thought. You become a man who cannot be emotionally manipulated because you are the master of your own judgments. Cynicism is a fortress you build to protect a wounded heart, but its walls soon become a prison. The world of dating can feel like a relentless assault of ghosting, vague replies, and mixed signals, each one a brick in that defensive wall. The 14th Stoic practice offers you a key to the prison gate, a deliberate exercise in seeing the good in others. This is not about naive optimism or excusing poor behavior. It is a disciplined choice to look for the virtue, or at the very least the understandable human intention behind every action. When someone cancels a date last minute, your first impression might be that they are flaky, disrespectful, or simply not that interested. That impression feels like a fact and it fuels resentment. The practice asks you to pause and consider alternative, more generous interpretations. Perhaps they are overwhelmed with a family crisis. Maybe they are battling a surge of social anxiety and could not bring themselves to go through with it. It is possible they are simply inexperienced and handled the situation poorly. By choosing to see a struggling human being rather than a personal insult, you accomplish something profound. You disarm the event of its power to make you bitter. You refuse to let another person's actions, which are outside your control, dictate the quality of your own character. Your inner peace remains yours. This mindset is a superpower in modern dating. It allows you to navigate rejection and disappointment without collecting scars. You can receive a no, wish the person well, and move forward with your spirit intact and your heart still open. Your positivity is not a fragile bubble easily popped by reality. It is a resilient outlook hardened by the conscious choice to interpret the world through a lens of understanding rather than judgment. This makes you a challenge because you are not carrying the baggage of past grievances into new connections. You meet each person as they are in that moment, free from the shadow of those who came before. Your openness signals a deep, unshakable security, a man who is not easily offended because his sense of self does not depend on others behaving perfectly. You already possess everything you need to feel whole right now. Gratitude is the daily practice of actively acknowledging the wealth that already exists in your life, from the simple comfort of a bed to the profound freedom of your own autonomy. This is not a vague feel-good exercise. It is a strategic rewiring of your perception that directly dismantles neediness. When you make a daily habit of listing the things you are genuinely thankful for, you are sending a powerful message to your own subconscious. You are building a case for your own abundance. You start to see that your happiness and sense of completion are not external prizes to be won from another person, but internal states that are already available to you. Think about the feeling of clinging to a new connection, terrified of saying the wrong thing for fear she will leave. That fear springs from a mindset of scarcity, the belief that this one person is your only chance at happiness. Now contrast that with the mindset cultivated by gratitude. You wake up and mentally note your appreciation for your health, for the friends who support you, for the career you are building, for the freedom to spend your Saturday exactly as you choose. You feel the genuine weight of that abundance. When you carry that feeling into a date, the dynamic is completely transformed. You are not there to extract validation from her to fill a void. You are there to share the abundant life you have already built. Your presence communicates, I am already complete. A relationship with you would be an addition to my happiness, not the source of it. This is fundamentally attractive because it removes all pressure. She senses that you are not evaluating her as a potential solution to your problems, but as a potential partner to share your already fulfilling journey. Your gratitude for your own life makes you a challenge because you are not a missing piece searching for a match. You are a whole puzzle, inviting someone to appreciate the entire picture. Your own judgment in the moment can feel clouded by desire or fear, which is why the Stoics kept a North Star to guide them, the ideal of the sage. This 16th practice is not about achieving perfection, but about asking a single, clarifying question whenever you find yourself at a crossroads. What would a perfectly wise and virtuous person do in my situation? You are not trying to be Marcus Aurelius, but you are borrowing his perspective to cut through your own emotional noise. The sage is a mental construct, a model of flawless reason and integrity against which you can measure your own impulses. Imagine you have been ghosted after what felt like a great connection. Your initial reaction might be resentment, the urge to send a final, bitter message to get the last word. Now pause and invoke the sage. How would Marcus Aurelius handle this? He would first recognize the event as outside his control, a fact of the external world. He would then turn his attention inward to what is his to command. He would ask if a bitter response aligns with the virtues of wisdom and justice. He would see that sending an angry text serves no purpose other than to temporarily vent an emotion, and that it would be an act of injustice to project his disappointment onto another person who has her own reasons, however flawed. The sage would conclude that the only dignified, virtuous response is silent acceptance. He would wish her well in his heart and turn his energy back to his own purpose, his value completely intact. This is not about suppressing your feelings, but about rising above them to choose a better action. You still feel the sting of rejection, but you are no longer a slave to it. You have a higher standard to live up to. You can apply this to smaller moments too. When you are tempted to brag or exaggerate on a date to seem more impressive, ask what the sage would do. The sage, secure in his own worth, would speak with simple honesty, knowing that a connection built on pretense is worthless. When you feel the anxiety of waiting for a reply, the sage would not refresh his phone. He would use that mental energy on his work, his health, or his friends, demonstrating through his actions that his peace does not depend on a notification. This practice gives you a constant companion, a wise inner counsel that always points toward virtue. It transforms your decision-making from a reactive process to a principled one. You begin to act not out of fleeting emotion, but from a place of considered character. And when you consistently choose the path the sage would walk, you stop trying to be attractive and instead become a man of substance, whose actions are so aligned with integrity that he becomes a living challenge, a standard for others to meet. A cancelled date carries no inherent meaning until you assign it one. The event itself is a simple rearrangement of your evening, a change in plans. The story you tell yourself about why it happened, that is where the pain begins. This is the 17th practice, a radical commitment to withholding judgment on external events. The Stoics taught that the world outside our minds is made of indifferent things. A rainy day is not good or bad, it is just weather. A traffic jam is not a personal attack by the universe, it is just cause. Your value as a person remains utterly untouched by these external circumstances. Now apply this razor-sharp logic to your dating life. She cancels a date at the last minute. The raw, neutral fact is that a planned meeting will not occur. That is all. The judgment you are tempted to make is that you are not interesting enough, that she found someone better, that you are fundamentally unworthy of her time. This judgment is the source of your suffering, not the cancellation itself. By mentally placing that cancelled date in the category of a neutral external event, like a cloud passing in front of the sun, you prevent it from destabilizing you. You feel the initial flicker of disappointment, but it does not ignite into a fire of self-doubt. Your emotional stability comes from this disciplined separation of fact from fiction. You acknowledge the change in your schedule, and then you turn your attention to what is within your control. You can decide to use that free evening to read a book you have been neglecting, to call an old friend, or to simply enjoy a quiet night to yourself. Your response becomes calm and pragmatic, not emotional and reactive. This practice systematically builds a resilience that is incredibly attractive. Most people are tossed around by the stories they tell themselves, their moods swinging with every perceived slight or victory. When you remain unshaken, when a cancelled plan does not derail your sense of self, you demonstrate a level of emotional mastery that is rare. You communicate that your worth is a settled fact, not a fluctuating variable dependent on someone else's attendance. This makes you a profound challenge because you are not easily offended or thrown off balance. Your inner world is a place of calm judgment, not stormy reaction, and that is a sanctuary any sane person would want to be near. Your authentic self is the only one you are ever meant to be. This is the heart of the 18th practice, living in accordance with nature, and for a Stoic, nature is not just trees and rivers, it is the fundamental design of a thing. A knife's nature is to cut, a bird's nature is to fly. Your nature as a human being is to be rational, social, and virtuous. To live against this nature is to create a constant internal friction. You feel it when you pretend to enjoy a hobby you dislike just because she does. You feel it when you suppress your true opinion to avoid a potential disagreement. That feeling is the signal that you are betraying your own design. Living in accordance with your nature means embracing your unique combination of reason, values, and personality without apology. It is the decision to be the same person alone in your room as you are on a date, the same man in a text message as you are in a face-to-face conversation. This is not a license to be rude or inflexible. It is a commitment to be consistent and genuine. Your rational nature allows you to choose your actions deliberately, rather than being a slave to the impulse to impress. Your social nature guides you to connect with kindness and respect, not manipulation. When these two forces are aligned, you achieve a state of integrity that is both peaceful and powerful. On a date, this looks like sharing your genuine passions, even if they are not mainstream. It sounds like asking questions you are truly curious about, not just the ones you think will make you seem intelligent. It feels like being comfortable with silence because you are not scrambling to manufacture a persona. This level of authenticity is a formidable challenge to others because it is so rare. Most people are presenting a polished, edited version of themselves, a resume of attractive qualities. When they encounter someone who is not performing, who is simply and wholly present, it disrupts the entire unspoken game. She cannot play against a strategy that does not exist. She can only interact with the real you. This forces a real connection, or it reveals a real incompatibility, and both outcomes are victories for the man living in accordance with his nature. He either finds a partner who appreciates his genuine self, or he efficiently discovers a mismatch, saving both people precious time and emotional energy. This practice is the ultimate filter, and it positions you not as a seeker of approval, but as a man who is already complete, simply seeing if another complete person fits into his world. Your financial status is an external, a circumstance that has no bearing on your inner worth. There is a profound freedom in embracing a life of simplicity, a deliberate practice the Stoics called poverty. This is not about romanticizing destitution, but about actively choosing to detach your sense of self from material possessions. In the context of dating, this translates to a quiet revolution. You stop believing you need a luxury car to be interesting or an expensive watch to be impressive. you realize that trying to purchase affection is the most transparent form of neediness, a desperate admission that you have nothing else to offer. When your confidence is rooted in your character, your humor, your resilience, and your principles, you no longer require external props. You can plan a date that is simple, creative, and focused on connection rather than expensive and focused on spectacle. A walk in the park with genuine conversation holds more power than a five-star dinner where you are performing the role of a wealthy patron. This simplicity is a form of deep honesty. It communicates that you are inviting someone to know you, not your bank account. It is a profound challenge because it forces the interaction onto the only ground that truly matters, the connection between two characters. A man who is unimpressed by his own wealth and uninterested in flaunting it is a man who cannot be bought or swayed by superficial incentives. His value is inherent, and that is a currency that never depreciates. Rejection does not have to be a stop sign on your path. It can become the fuel that propels you forward. This is the core of turning obstacles into advantages, a practice captured in the famous Stoic mantra that the obstacle is the way. It is the art of alchemy for your character, transforming the lead of a setback into the gold of personal growth. Imagine a scenario you know all too well. You put yourself out there, you feel a genuine connection, and then you receive a polite but firm rejection. The common, untrained reaction is to internalize this as a verdict on your worth. You might retreat, vowing to protect yourself from future pain, but the Stoic asks a different, more powerful question. How can I use this exact situation to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient? The rejection itself is not the advantage, your response to it is. You can take that sting of disappointment and use it as motivation to refine your social skills, not with a frantic energy of inadequacy, but with the calm focus of a craftsman improving his work. You can analyze the interaction with objective judgment, looking for clues not about your inherent value, but about practical compatibility. Perhaps it reveals a mismatch in life goals or communication styles you had not considered. This information is priceless. It guides you toward more suitable connections in the future. A breakup, an even more significant obstacle, offers an even greater opportunity. The end of a relationship creates a vacuum, an empty space where that person once was. The needy mind rushes to fill that void immediately, jumping back into the dating pool to seek a replacement. The resilient mind, however, sees this as a sacred space for rebuilding. This is your chance to reinvest in friendships you may have neglected, to dive deeper into your personal mission, to rediscover the hobbies that define you outside of a partnership. You use the pain not as a reason to build thicker walls, but as a reason to build a stronger core. You process the grief, you learn the lessons about your own patterns and needs, and you emerge not just healed but upgraded. This reframing ability is what makes you unstoppable. When you stop seeing obstacles as malicious attacks and start viewing them as training assignments from life itself, you cease to be a victim of your circumstances. You become the protagonist who uses every challenge, every no, every ending as raw material for your own evolution. This mindset is magnetic. It communicates that you are a force of nature, a man who cannot be kept down because you have learned the secret of turning every setback into a setup for a greater comeback. Your mind is a time traveler, constantly pulling you into the future or dragging you back into the past, but your power exists only in the here and now. This is the essence of the 21st Stoic practice, a radical focus on the present moment. It is the discipline of anchoring your awareness completely in the current task, the current conversation, the current breath. On a date, this is your most powerful tool for creating a genuine connection. Think about the last time you were out with someone. Your body was in the room, but your mind was elsewhere. It was rehearsing your next story, analyzing her last comment for hidden meaning, or anxiously projecting into a future where you might say the wrong thing. You were a ghost at the table, and she could feel your absence. Being fully present is the ultimate sign of respect and the highest form of engagement. It communicates that right now, in this moment, there is nowhere else you would rather be and no one else you would rather be with. Your entire focus is a gift, and it is one that few people ever receive. To practice this, you must become a master of noticing when your attention drifts. You are talking, and suddenly you are aware of your own voice, wondering if you sound intelligent. That is a drift. Gently, without judgment, guide your focus back to her. Notice the color of her eyes. Listen to the specific words she is using, not just the general topic. Feel the weight of the coffee cup in your hand. This is not about zoning out, it is about zoning in with intense clarity. When you're truly present, you stop performing and start perceiving. You catch the subtle shift in her expression when she talks about her family. You hear the passion in her voice when she describes a project she loves. This allows you to ask better questions, to make more meaningful connections, because you are operating on real-time data, not a pre-written script. Your responses become authentic and spontaneous, born from the fertile ground of the present rather than the stale archives of your anxiety. This quality of attention is intoxicating. It makes the other person feel truly seen and heard, as if they are the most fascinating subject in the world. You become a challenge because your engagement is not a given. It is a conscious choice you are making moment by moment. You are not a man desperate for a second date. You are a man completely immersed in the first, and that unwavering presence is a silent testament to your unshakable inner calm. That unwavering presence requires a master who is not easily distracted by every passing desire. True self-control is not a theory. It is a muscle built through repeated practice, and one of the most effective ways to build it is through the deliberate and occasional denial of pleasure. This is the practice of self-denial. You choose to skip the dessert you crave. You leave the party while you are still having fun. You turn down a second drink when one would be enough. These are not acts of punishment, they are drills for your willpower. Each time you successfully deny a minor impulse, you send a powerful message to your own psyche. You are in command, your desires do not rule you. Now, bring this directly into your interactions. The impulse to text her the moment a clever thought pops into your head is a desire for instant gratification, for that little hit of dopamine from a reply. It feels good in the moment, but it trains a pattern of reactivity. It teaches your brain that your peace is dependent on external validation. When you practice self-denial, you feel that impulse and you consciously choose to pause. You let the thought sit, you do not act on it immediately. You might even decide not to send it at all. This simple act is a profound demonstration of internal strength. It proves to yourself that you are not a slave to your phone or to her attention. You are a man with his own rhythm and priorities. This discipline naturally creates space and mystery, not as a manipulative tactic, but as the authentic byproduct of a man who is not desperate for a response. Your time and attention become valuable because you demonstrate through your actions that you value them yourself. You are not sitting by the phone. You are living a life so full that you can afford to let a text wait while you finish a chapter, complete a workout, or enjoy a conversation with a friend. This self-possession is magnetic. It shows that you are the master of your own impulses, and that is a quality that inspires deep respect and lasting attraction. Your value was never meant to be tied to any single outcome, especially not to the possession of another person's affection. This brings us to the 23rd practice, cultivating indifference to the so-called indifference. In Stoicism, the only true good is a virtuous character, and the only true evil is a life of vice. Everything else, all the things we normally chase and fear, are classified as indifference. These are not good or bad in themselves, they are merely preferred or dispreferred. Wealth is a preferred indifferent, it can be used wisely. Poverty is a dispreferred indifferent, it can make life more difficult. A good reputation is preferred, a bad one dispreferred. Health is preferred, sickness dispreferred. And crucially, securing a relationship with a particular person falls squarely into this category. It is a preferred indifferent. It is natural to want it, but your happiness and self-worth must never be chained to its attainment. When you genuinely cultivate this indifference, a profound shift occurs in your energy. You stop acting from a place of lack, from the desperate need to acquire her approval or her company to feel complete. You start acting from a place of virtue, from the desire to be a good man regardless of the result. You ask her out not because you need her to say yes to validate your existence, but because asking with honesty and courage is the right expression of your interest. You can have a wonderful conversation not to win her over, but because engaging with another person respectfully and authentically is its own reward. This inner freedom is magnetic. When you are truly indifferent to whether you get the girl or not, you become fearless. You are no longer afraid of saying the wrong thing because your worth is not on the line. You are no longer afraid of a no because a no does not diminish you, it simply redirects you. This is not the cold indifference of apathy. It is the warm, confident indifference of a man who knows his own value is an internal fact, completely separate from any external outcome. He is offering his company, not pleading for hers. This makes you the ultimate challenge because you are not seeking a prize. You are the prize, and you are calmly seeing if she is a worthy recipient of your time and attention. Your peace is no longer a variable dependent on her choices. It is the constant foundation from which you operate. The sun has not yet risen, but your mind is already at work fortifying itself for the day ahead. This is the daily preparation, a quiet ritual where you deliberately anticipate the friction points you might encounter. You are not worrying, you are armoring. You sit for a few moments and run through the day's potential challenges. You visualize the difficult conversation with your colleague, not to dread it, but to rehearse your calm and just response. You picture the traffic jam that could test your patience, and you decide in advance to use that time for an audiobook or simple reflection. Then you bring this practice into the realm of connection. You mentally walk through the date you have tonight. You do not imagine a perfect, flawless evening. Instead, you prepare for the reality of human interaction. What if there is an awkward silence? You decide now that you will meet it with comfortable eye contact and a genuine smile, not with a frantic search for the next topic. What if she disagrees with a strong opinion of yours? You rehearse listening with an open mind and responding with respect, holding your ground without becoming defensive. What if she cancels at the last minute? You see yourself receiving the message, feeling the brief flicker of disappointment, and then calmly pivoting to a rewarding solo activity, your evening salvaged by your own resourcefulness. This mental rehearsal is your psychological armor. By pre-living these potential difficulties, you drain them of their power to surprise and destabilize you. When you then step into the actual date, you are not a raw nerve hoping for the best. You are a prepared individual, ready to uphold your virtues of wisdom, courage, and self-control no matter what unfolds. Your calm is not luck, it is by design. This prepared mindset allows you to be truly present because you have already navigated the potential storms in the safety of your own mind. You engage not from a place of anxiety about what might go wrong, but from a place of quiet confidence, knowing that you are ready for whatever happens. And that unshakable readiness is the final, unspoken challenge you present to the world. Your transformation into a man of unshakable character is not a destination but a daily practice, and the final tool to lock in your progress is the simple act of writing it all down. This is the ultimate practice, journaling your journey, and it is the engine of your continuous evolution. Think of your mind as a vast, sometimes chaotic workshop. Without a ledger, you might remember the big successes and the painful failures, but you will forget the subtle patterns, the small victories, and the exact thoughts that led to a moment of neediness or a display of strength. A journal is that ledger. It is your private laboratory where you conduct the most important experiment of all, the refinement of your own character. Each night, you do not just think about your day, you write it down. You record not just what happened, but how you responded through the lens of the 24 practices you have just learned. Did you successfully apply the dichotomy of control when she did not reply? Write down the exact moment you felt the anxiety rise and how you redirected your focus to your own actions. Did you fail to withhold judgment and spiral into a story after a cancelled plan? Describe that spiral with ruthless honesty, identifying the precise thought that triggered your dissent. This process creates a powerful feedback loop for your soul. You are no longer vaguely trying to be better, you are collecting concrete data on your own performance. You can look back over a week of entries and see a clear pattern, perhaps noticing that your neediness spikes when you are tired or stressed. This awareness alone is half the battle won. You can also document your successes, the moments you felt the Stoic principles click into place. Remember the time you received disappointing news, and instead of reacting with anger, you calmly asked yourself what the sage would do and found a constructive path forward. Writing that down cements the neural pathway, making that virtuous response more accessible next time. This journal is not for self-criticism, it is for objective self-audit. It is the map that shows you where you have been and illuminates the path forward, ensuring that every single day you are actively building the resilient, self-validated man who is the ultimate challenge. This is how you ensure your growth is not a fleeting inspiration, but a permanent upward trajectory. These 25 practices are far more than a dating manual. They are a complete blueprint for building an unshakable character. The man who masters them does not simply become a challenge in the romantic sense. He becomes a challenge to the very forces of chaos and mediocrity in the world. He stands as a living example of what it means to be governed by reason instead of impulse, by virtue instead of validation. This transformation is the real prize, and the magnetic appeal you develop is merely its natural byproduct. You stop playing games because you are no longer a player on someone else's board. You have become the architect of your own life. Your confidence is no longer a performance. It is the quiet hum of a soul aligned with its purpose. The journey does not require you to master all 25 practices at once. That is the beauty of a philosophy built on daily progress, not overnight perfection. Your path forward begins with a single step, with one practice that resonates most with your current struggle. Perhaps today, you choose to focus solely on the dichotomy of control, catching yourself every time you worry about something outside your command. Maybe you commit to the evening review, spending just 5 minutes in honest self-reflection before sleep. Or you could start with gratitude, writing down 3 things you are thankful for each morning to build your foundation of abundance. The specific starting point matters less than the decision to begin. So which one will it be for you? Choose one practice, just one, and carry it with you through the day. Then come back and share your experience. Tell us in the comments which practice you started with and what you discovered. Your journey is unique, but you do not have to walk it alone. Your story could be the spark that inspires someone else to take their first step toward a life of genuine strength and purpose. The world needs more men and women of character. Start building yours today.